Hello. So in the previous video, we discussed how the English sentence uses the subject, verb, object formula to present the logic of the sentence. You know who's doing something, who's receiving something, what's happening, because in English we use this subject, verb, object logic. How is it done in Latin? Latin uses declensions. It's the endings of the sentences, of the words that change. Yeah, think about that. Every word, the ending of a word can change depending on its use in the sentence. And there are 5 cases that allow for that are used in the logic of the sentence. First case is the nominative. And let me just run them through, and we're going to focus on some of them first. Nominative case. That's for the subject. The next one is the genitive. That's for possession. Dative. Dative. That's for indirect object. Accusative. That's used for direct objects. And then the ablative case, which is used for a lot of different cases, a lot of different uses. Mainly, I would have to say usually, often, would I say 60-40 with prepositions, and other uses. Okay, those are your 5 cases. Be able to run through them. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Let me spend just a second describing on the name. For example, the nominative, it comes from the word name. That's the naming one. That's naming who does it. Who is the subject? What is the subject of the sentence? Accusative, we know that in English. Hey, I accuse you of doing this. So the accusative is the direct object, and that makes sense. Dative is the indirect object, and the dative comes from the Latin word do, dare, dedi, datum. It is the indirect object because indirect objects are things for which something is given, shown, or told. I gave a book to Bob. Bob would be in the dative case because he is the one to whom I am giving the book. Or I gave a speech to the people. The people would be in the dative case. Let's look at some examples of the dative case. We're going to talk about the first declension. The first declension, there are 5 declensions in Latin. The declensions are for nouns, conjugations are for verbs. The declensions are groups of words that are all the same, or they follow the same format. And nouns of the first declension follow this format. The nominative ending is a, nominative singular, singular plural. Genitive, ae. Dative, ae. Accusative, am. And the ablative, a long a. This is the second spot, and the only other spot where I will insist that you memorize the use of the macron. Because look, that distinguishes it from the nominative up above. So, let's go to the plural. Ae, aurum, is, as, is. These are the endings that you will need to memorize. Just flat out memorize. And I think the easiest way to do it is by learning a paradigm. I suggested you pick a word in Latin, in the verbs, that you know that verb, and I suggest you do the same thing in Latin. Let's pick one. I'll start out with, it's not the word I use, but I'm going to start out with fama. you will see in the dictionary it is fama, fami, feminine. Feminine is the gender. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm only focusing on the cases right now. We take off the second. In a dictionary, it always lists the nominative first and the genitive second. And you form your cases, you form your words by the genitive. Remember, compare amo, amare, amawi, amatum. Where did we go to get our stem? We went to the second principal part minus the RE. Where do we go to get our stem in nouns? We go to the second word in the dictionary entry, the genitive entry, and that is our stem. So the first one is always the nominative singular. Fama, or think about it, the dictionary starts you off with the first two. Fama, famai, famai, famam, fama, with a long A. Famai, famarum, famis, famas, famis. One word about the AE, that's a diphthong. AE is a diphthong. It's two sounds that go together. It's a diphthong. And it sounds like the sound in aisle. You walk down the aisle. Let's decline another noun of the first declension. The dictionary entry is puella, puelli, feminine. It means girl. We get our stem by taking the AE off the genitive ending. Puella, puelli, puelli, puellam, puella. Puelli, puellarum, puellis, puellas, puellis. I recommend, and as much as I can insist, that you, number one, go through every single word in chapter 2, that's a noun, every single noun, in chapter 2, and decline it. And by decline it, I mean put all of the endings on it. And then pick one word as your paradigm and memorize the heck out of it so you can say it in your sleep. Puella, puelli, puelli, puellam, puella, puellis, puelli, puellarum, puellis, puellas, puellis. Maybe your word is fama. Fama, famai, famai, famam, fama, famai, famarum, famis, famas, famis. Just memorize it. Puella, puelli, puelli, puellam, puella. Puelli, puellarum, puellis, puellas, puellis. Get the idea? Yes. Memorize it in that way. Now, in the next video, we will learn how to use these and what they mean when we see them in the sentence. I want you to focus on forming, on declining your nouns of the first declension. Have a great day.